If you parked your student loans in the SAVE plan, you probably believe your interest-free pause still protects you. It doesn't. On July 1st, 1 week ago, a law called the One Big Beautiful Bill Act killed SAVE for good, and it covers roughly 7 million borrowers. For some, the monthly payment jumps from zero to hundreds of dollars. By the end, you'll know which of two new repayment tracks to switch to and how long you have before the government picks for you. None of this is financial advice. I'm just laying out how these rules actually work so you can make your own call. Picture your loan as a train and your repayment plan as the track it runs on. For a year and a half, the SAVE track felt smooth and cheap. Millions of riders paid nothing while courts fought over it. But that track was never finished. On July 1st, it ended at a cliff. If you do nothing, your train doesn't stop. It rolls off the edge into a plan you never chose. Here's what actually happened. On July 3rd, 2025, Congress passed the One Big Beautiful Bill Act, filed as Public Law 19021. Buried inside a giant tax and spending bill was the largest rewrite of the federal student loan system in decades. The old menu of income-driven plans is being torn down, and in its place, just two tracks remain for new borrowers. Let me back up on SAVE for a second, because it explains the shock. When it launched in 2023, SAVE was the most generous repayment plan ever offered. It exempted more of your income, so payments shrank. It stopped unpaid interest from snowballing on your balance. For millions, the monthly bill fell dramatically. Then the court fight froze payments at zero. People built their lives around a number that was never going to last. Two separate things are happening now, and people keep mixing them up. First, if you were on SAVE, that plan is permanently gone. You must pick a new plan or get moved into a pricier one automatically. Second, anyone taking a brand new federal loan on or after July 1st, 2026 loses the old plans entirely. Their only choices are the new repayment assistance plan and a tiered standard plan. To see why the confusion is dangerous, count the plans people had before. SAVE, Payee, Repay, IBR, ICR, plus several standard and graduated options. Nearly a dozen doors. Overnight, new borrowers get two. Fewer choices sounds simpler, but the two survivors behave very differently, and defaulting into the wrong one can cost you a car's worth of money. Why should you care about the fine print? Because the numbers are moving against you. Under the old income-driven plans, leftover debt was forgiven after 20 to 25 years. Under the new RAP track, you pay for 30 years before anything is wiped. That's up to a decade of extra payments on the very same loan. And there's a quieter change that stings. From 2021 through the end of 2025, forgiven student debt was federally tax-free, thanks to the American Rescue Plan Act. That protection expired on December 31st, 2025. So starting this year, a forgiven balance counts as taxable income again, a surprise bill that can land years down the road. Now, what does doing nothing actually trigger? You don't vanish from the system. When your save grace runs out and you haven't chosen, the servicer drops you into a default plan, often the one with the highest monthly payment your balance allows. Nobody calls to warn you it's the priciest door. The bill just changes and the money leaves your account. Remember, the interest-free part of the pause is ending too. For a year and a half, the freeze meant your balance sat frozen. Going forward, interest starts building again under most plans. So the longer you drift without choosing, the more you can quietly owe, even before your first higher payment posts. How widespread is this? Servicers must move roughly 7 million SAVE borrowers, plus everyone still on Pay and ICR, onto new plans within 2 years. That's the largest forced migration of repayment plans in the history of the program. Call center wait times are already stretching. Wait until the deadline, and you'll be standing in the longest line at the worst possible moment. Before I show you the two safe tracks, you need to know why this happened at all, because it tells you who's actually holding the pen. Income-driven repayment isn't a new invention. Congress created the first version back in 1993, letting borrowers pay a slice of their income for a set number of years. Over the decades, the government stacked plan on plan, ICR, IBR, Pay-Y-Repay, each with its own formula. The system grew into an alphabet soup almost nobody could read. The road here was messy. Republican-led states sued to block SAVE in March 2024. That July, a federal appeals court ordered the Education Department to stop the plan entirely. The Supreme Court declined to fast-track it. By February 2025, the injunction stood. Rather than let judges finish the fight, Congress simply rewrote the law in July 2025, and a court order in March 2026 sealed SAVE's fate for good. Meanwhile, the money ballooned. Today, more than 42 million Americans owe federal student debt, and the total has climbed past $1.6 trillion. The federal government now hands out roughly 90% of all student loans. It effectively pushed private banks out of the room. When one lender controls that much, a single law can rewrite the terms for tens of millions overnight. The squeeze on graduate students is sharper than the headlines suggest. Starting July 1st, the Graduate Plus loan, which let grad and professional students borrow up to the full cost of attendance, is gone for new borrowers. In its place, hard annual and lifetime caps. Future doctors, lawyers, and social workers will hit a government ceiling and get pushed toward private lenders charging their own rates. So who benefits from stretching forgiveness to 30 years? The lender. And here, the lender is the U.S. Treasury. Longer repayment means more months of interest flowing back to the government. Capping how much grad students can borrow trims the government's risk. This isn't an accident, it's the design. Quick gut check before we go on. Do you even know which repayment plan you're on right now? The actual name of it? If you paused for a second there, you're exactly who this affects most. Hold on to that honesty. You'll need it in a few minutes. That's the machine. Now let me show you what it feels like from the driver's seat of one very ordinary train. Diego is 34. He's a physical therapist earning about $62,000 a year, with $48,000 in federal loans. In 2023, he enrolled in SAVE because his monthly payment dropped to around $180, and then, during the court freeze, to zero. For 18 months, he paid nothing and no interest piled up. It felt like a gift. So Diego did what most people do with a gift like that. He looked away. He rerouted the money into rent, a used car, and a wedding. The loan became background noise, a track he assumed would stay smooth forever. He never opened the emails from his servicer because every previous email had said the same thing, nothing to do right now. His coworker Elena, same age, same starting balance, made one different choice. Back in early 2025, she read that SAVE had lost in court and started treating the freeze as borrowed time. She kept setting aside $200 a month in a separate savings account, pretend payments to nobody. By this summer, she'd stockpiled about $2,400 and studied her options. Then the letters came. Servicers began notifying SAVE borrowers in waves, tranches that run all the way through March 2027. Diego's arrived in late June. The subject line was calm. The content was not. His interest-free pause was ending. His account would move to a new plan. His estimated payment, $410 a month. $410, up from zero. Diego did the math and felt his stomach drop. That's roughly $4,900 a year he hadn't budgeted for. And because forgiveness is taxable again, the someday it disappears comfort he'd leaned on had quietly grown a price tag. He'd been riding toward a cliff with his eyes closed. For a panicked week, Diego nearly refinanced with a private lender advertising a lower rate. Then he realized it would have erased his shot at forgiveness and locked him out of every income-based safety net. He stepped back from the ledge. That pause, asking one more question before signing, probably saved him tens of thousands. Here's the part almost everyone gets wrong. Doing nothing is not staying still. Doing nothing is a choice, the most expensive choice on the menu. If you never pick a track, the law picks for you, and it never picks the cheapest one. Read that again because it reverses everything the pause taught you. For 18 months, silence was safe. Silence saved Diego money. Now the same silence is the trap. The safest feeling move, ignore it, wait it out, became the one guaranteed to cost the most. What if the real question isn't, how do I keep my payment low, but what does this loan cost me across my whole life? The month-to-month number is what servicers show you first. The lifetime number is what actually shapes your future. The down payment you delay, the retirement you underfund. Reframe it, and the right track gets obvious. So how does Diego get his train off the cliff track and onto solid ground? Two rails are still standing, and you need to know the difference. The first is the Repayment Assistance Plan, RAP. It ties your monthly payment to your income, like the old plans, but on new terms. The upside, it can offer a small break on interest and a floor for low earners. The catch, forgiveness now waits 30 years, not 20. Cheaper each month, costlier across the full ride. The second is the tiered standard plan. Your balance is split into fixed monthly payments over a set number of years based on how much you owe. Higher payments, but a clear finish line, and less interest overall. Think of it as the steeper track, harder climb, short at Diego's 2 roads in dollars. On RAP at $240 a month for 30 years, he'd pay far more interest even though each check feels light. On a shorter standard plan near $500 a month, he'd hurt now but save thousands overall. Cheaper monthly, costlier lifetime. That trade is the whole game. Which rail is yours? If your income is low relative to your debt, say you're a teacher or a nurse chasing public service loan forgiveness, RAP's lower monthly payment usually wins. If you earn a comfortable salary and want to be debt-free fastest, the standard track often costs you less in total interest. Same law. Now you might be thinking, I'll just refinance with a private bank and skip this whole mess. Careful. The moment you refinance federal loans into a private one, you permanently give up income-driven plans, forgiveness programs, and every borrower protection we're discussing. For a few high earners, that trade makes sense. For most people, it's a one-way door you can't reopen. One wrinkle trips people up. Not all federal loans are treated the same. Parent Plus loans, consolidation loans, and older FEL loans each have different paths into the new plans. Before you pick, note exactly what type you hold. A borrower with Parent Plus debt has a narrower menu than someone with standard direct loans. Whatever your situation, take 3 concrete steps this month. 1. Log into your account at studentaid.gov and confirm exactly which loans and which plan you're on right now. Don't guess. 2. Run your numbers through the official loan simulator to compare RAP against the tiered standard for your real income and balance. 3. Submit your choice before you're auto-enrolled. You have more runway than the panic suggests. No borrower is forced off Save before roughly September 29, 2026. That's 90 days after July 1st. And the hard deadline to move from Save, Payee, or ICR to an eligible plan is July 1st, 2028. 2 years. But the notices arrive in waves, so yours could land any month. There's one more date worth circling. For loans taken out on or after July 1st, 2027, the rules for pausing payments, deferment, and forbearance get stricter. The safety net you might have leaned on in a rough month is being tightened. So the plan you pick now matters even more, because your escape hatches are shrinking. Now here's the piece most guides skip. Picking a plan is not the whole job. If you're chasing public service loan forgiveness, make sure your new plan still qualifies. Not every track counts toward those payments. Switch to the wrong rail and you can reset progress you already earned. Confirm eligibility before you lock anything in. Public service loan forgiveness still exists and it's still powerful. 120 qualifying payments, roughly 10 years, then a clean wipe. But it only counts payments made on qualifying plans. Diego, as a hospital physical therapist, may qualify. If he'd panicked onto the wrong track, he'd have thrown away payments he'd already banked toward that goal. Diego finally logged in. For his income, RAP dropped his payment to around $240. Steep versus zero, but survivable, and it protected his forgiveness clock. Elena, with her $2,400 cushion, chose the standard track, absorbed the higher payment, and put herself on pace to finish years sooner. Same starting line, 2 different tracks, both alive. Here's the relief in all of this. The cliff is real, but it's marked. You can see it coming from months away, and switching tracks is paperwork, not surgery. The borrowers who get hurt aren't the ones who plan. They're the ones who never look up. 10 minutes of attention this week beats a decade of overpaying. Let me pull the lessons out so you can act, not just worry. Lesson 1. In this new system, silence has a price. The plan you don't choose gets chosen for you, and it favors the treasury, not your budget. Open the servicer emails. Read the tranche notice the day it lands. Lesson 2. Cheaper monthly is not cheaper overall. RAP's 30-year track can feel like relief and still cost you thousands more in interest than a shorter standard plan. Weigh the monthly payment against the total across the whole ride. Cash flow today versus lifetime cost. Lesson 3. Plan for the tax. Forgiveness stopped being tax-free on December 31st, 2025. Picture the surprise in real terms. Say $20,000 gets wiped in 2040. The IRS may treat that $20,000 as income that year, potentially thousands owed in one hit. Set aside a little now so a future gift doesn't arrive as a bill you can't pay. Build yourself a simple checklist. Know your loan type. Know your current plan. Know your 2 new options and their monthly and lifetime cost. Know your deadline, September 29th, 2026 at the earliest, July 2028 at the latest. Know whether you're chasing forgiveness. 5 things. Write them down. That list is your track switch. Elena's story carries a quiet lesson too. She had no inside information. She read one news alert in early 2025, took it seriously, and turned a scary headline into a savings habit. By the time her notice arrived, the decision felt boring, because she'd already done the thinking. Boring is exactly what you want your loan to feel like. The deeper shift is this. Treat your student loan the way an investor treats any long contract. You don't sign because the first payment is low. You read the term, the total cost, and what happens if the rules change. Because this year, they did. So here's what I want to know from you. When you log into studentaid.gov and see your real number, is your train headed for the RAP track or the standard track? And does that payment scare you or relieve you? Drop it in the comments. And if you were one of the 7 million on Save, tell me exactly what your notice said. None of this is financial advice, but the borrower who checks today is the one who never rolls off that cliff.